Okay. Okay, great. Thank you everybody for coming. I'm really looking forward to today's talk. I know that I had a lot of questions from reading the reading that was suggested. So let me go ahead and introduce our speaker. Sarah Hood received her Master's in Library and Information Science from Davis College at the University of South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, in May of 2004. She is currently the head research and instruction librarian at Eden's Library at Columbia College, and also serves as treasurer of the South Carolina Library Association. Her research interests include informational literacy, the first year experience, and faculty outreach. Her hobbies include pampering her 2 spoiled cats and playing the steel drums. So thank you so much for being here, Sarah. I'm really looking forward to this talk.
All right, great. Well, hopefully everyone can hear me. I see my microphone doing its thing, so I'm going to assume that everyone can hear me. As was mentioned, I'm from Columbia College in Columbia, South Carolina, and today I'm going to talk to you about a study that I've done this semester. As you can see on the slide, a textual analysis of course syllabi for library and research-related terminology, a quantitative approach to faculty outreach. I just want to thank you all today. I'm not actually a science librarian per se, but the thing we all have in common is we're very interested in information literacy in librarianship. And so with that, I think I'll go ahead and let me just give you a little bit of sort of a snapshot of Columbia College so you understand, the institution that I'm coming from. We all come from very different institutions, I'm sure, large, small, public, private. Columbia College, like I said, we are in Columbia, South Carolina. We're a small single campus. It's a private liberal arts 4-year institution. We are women only, although we do have a small handful of co-ed, evening, graduate, and online programs. We offer 35 undergraduate majors and 3 master's programs at this time. We've been working on getting our let me just bop over to I need to shut my email down real quick so that noise doesn't happen. Sorry about that. We've been working on getting our numbers up. We've been fairly successful with that, but as you can see, we are a pretty small institution. 1 library serves the college. Just a snapshot of Eden's Library. Like I said, we're a small institution. We have 4 full-time professional librarians. We all wear multiple hats. I'm sure many of you can identify with that. Our director also serves as our periodicals librarian. I'm the head research and instruction librarian. I'm also the web manager. We have a collection development librarian who also serves as our social media librarian, and our circulation and interlibrary loan librarian. And we also have a fleet of life-saving student workers. I'm sure many of you have student workers who are very valuable to your organization. Just a snapshot of our information literacy instruction program. We only have a few people here, but we have a very lively and robust information literacy program and have had, I'm proud to say, for many years. I teach the majority of the information literacy instruction sessions. They're pretty much just one-shots. But our director and our collection development librarian occasionally teach. In fact, I was out of town recently and our director had to teach a class. So, we share the duties as needed. Like I said, they're mostly one-shots. We do not have a credit-bearing semester-long information literacy course at this time. Per semester, we average about 32 one-shots per semester. Last fall, I think it counted up 44. The average class size is about 15 to 16 students. These one-shots do tend to be very assignment-based. They're based on very close collaboration with faculty. So what I hope to get out of this session is some feedback and advice. And what I hope that you get out of this session are some ideas about faculty outreach on your campus. So the study, what is this study? As you saw, it's a textual analysis of core syllabi for library and research-related terminology. What I did was I analyzed the full text of 425 undergraduate core syllabi for very specific keywords that would indicate a potential need on the part of the student to engage in the use of one or more library resources. So why did I do this study? Basically, as a marketing tool. The librarians at my institution, we have an excellent, I feel like we have an excellent rapport with the faculty, but I wanted a more objective methodology of identifying courses within the curriculum which could benefit from exposure to library services, and so this was a way of identifying those folks. So just a very brief literature review here. I don't want to get too much into that. I'm certainly not the first one to do something like this. Rambler and Sales are mentioned quite a lot in the literature. Syllabus studies, as far as I could see, syllabus studies go back to the early mid-80s. I also saw a reference to one done in 1979, although I was not able to locate the primary source itself. I would say, if I could just sum it up into 3 takeaways that I got from my literature review. First of all, Williams, Cody, and Parnell, 2004, they state, as a result of examining course syllabi, librarians can be better prepared and in the longer term can demonstrate to faculty a higher degree of involvement with course instruction. And I think this is so true. The quote really spoke to me because we have several faculty here who truly understand this. They truly get it. And I feel very fortunate for that. I would say the second takeaway from Sales, 1985, by respecting the exact needs of the instructor, librarians can complement the teaching function rather than play the traditional supplemental role. And this is another one that really spoke to me because that's what we're all about, right? Teaching. So it's a win-win situation when you can respect that faculty member's needs, yet also do what we do best, which is teaching information literacy. And I would say the third one, DeWald, 2003, the syllabi can also reveal which faculty one should most likely approach, and follow-up discussions with these selected faculty can then provide further information on library assignments. And I think while this last one may seem fairly obvious, DeWald notes a very tangible benefit of doing a syllabus study, and this is certainly something I'm very excited about following up on. So what are my research questions? I've got a few research questions. I would say the overarching question that really guided my research is this: how does a faculty member's perception of the library manifest itself within their course syllabi? And I would say some sub-questions of that would be, how can the answer to this question inform Eden's Library's approach to our faculty outreach in relation to our information literacy instruction program? And I hope the cogs are starting to turn in terms of how you might be able to apply some of this if you're interested in doing a similar study. And so some other questions are, based on the presence of library and research-related terminology within course syllabi, which faculty could potentially benefit from one or more library instruction sessions, also known as the one-shot? And finally, of those faculty, with whom have we not yet made contact? So that was my really important question. I really wanted to know, who have we not made contact with that we really need to make contact with? Okay, so what syllabi did I analyze? How did I get access to these course syllabi? I think different institutions probably have a different way of doing this. Here at Columbia College, we have an intra-campus electronic repository to which faculty are required to upload their syllabi each semester. They're very good about this. I've found that particular electronic repository very reliable. No institutional review board approval was needed because I wasn't dealing with human or animal subjects, but I did need to obtain permission from each individual faculty member, 116 total. That was a very interesting process. So I actually had to send individual emails to each one of those people. Oh, and I'm not sure why the value is not showing. I mean, I can just tell you 98 out of 116 faculty members, or 84%, said yes. I actually had no one who said no. I had 18 who just didn't give a response, but I mean, that's 84% who said yes. And so this is something I'm really proud of. We have a lot of faculty support. The library has a lot of faculty support here at Columbia College. So the parameters of the study, basically the syllabi that I decided to include in the study were the spring 2015 and fall 2015 of all sections of most courses offered in our undergraduate programs. I'll let you know which ones I decided not to include. What I did include were the day college. It's what we call the day college, the women-only college. And also our evening college and online programs as our co-ed. And so these do include, I went ahead and included any independent study, seminar, and senior project courses. What I did not include, what I eliminated from the study because I just felt that these courses were very unlikely to want or need library instruction per se. Well, graduate level, they certainly need library instruction, but my focus of the study was undergrad. But the following undergraduate courses, they would be least likely to require library use. Musical ensembles, things like that, PE classes, labs, internships, apprentices, field experiences, and study abroad in any discipline. Okay, so the syllabi that I analyzed out of, just kind of give you a snapshot, out of 425 total syllabi, again, the values are missing here. I've got them in front of me, though. 80 in the social sciences. 80 of those syllabi were in the social sciences, 113 in STEM, 232 in humanities. I didn't want to limit it to any particular area or discipline, so I looked at all of them, and I felt that was very feasible since we're a small campus. For some of you, I know that might not necessarily be feasible. And the same with course level. I think I've got those values here. There were 10 400 level courses, 27. Let me start with 100. 27 100 level courses, 31 200 level courses, 39 300 level courses, and 10 400 level courses. Okay. So in terms of the methodology, what I used was SeqFast. And what is it? It's a software program that can very quickly and easily search text up to 10,000 files. I did not have that many on your computer. And it can search all commonly used types of documents. The syllabi I was dealing with mainly just dealt with Word and PDF documents. The cost was, we're working on a shoestring budget, as I'm sure many of you are. I used version 2.3. I just needed one license because it was just me doing this study. So, $28 got me what I needed, but you can purchase up to 50 licenses for $450. The low price of $450. How does it work? It's basically very similar to a Control F command, but for multiple files. You can search Word and PDF documents simultaneously. There were a couple of negatives. There really seems to be no tech support after purchase. I had a couple questions and I tried to email a couple folks. Unfortunately, I didn't really get a response. And the files, there's a little side note that says that note the files may contain unlimited number of the sentences compliant with your search, but only the most relevant ones are displayed. So to get a truly accurate count, if I wanted to do this, I haven't finished this, but I would still have to open each file and do a Control F. But I still felt like it did all right for me because I just needed to get a good idea of which syllabi contained the words that I was looking for. And to tell you the truth, other text finder software products that I looked at, they weren't much better, so I just went ahead and went with SeqFast. Okay, so here is a screenshot, and as you can see, you can sort 3 different ways, kind of up in the upper left here. It's a little hard to see. I mainly stuck with alphabetical. And what's really nice is right there from the screen, you could click on the file and open it. So that was convenient. The only thing is, do you see that? You see that number at the bottom left there? Like I said, that's not the actual number of word occurrences. Whenever I was looking for a particular word in each set of syllabi, that's just the number of files that it appears in. So I got a little excited at first, then I kind of read the fine print. So. Okay, so I keep talking about, what words was I searching for in the syllabi? Basically, these words here, of course, library and librarian. I wanted to see where and when those words occurred in the course syllabi: literature review, scholarly, peer-reviewed, refereed, journal, and database. And there were some circumstances in which I didn't count the occurrence of one of those words. Obviously, if scholarly is used in a very generic sense, the student must demonstrate scholarly writing. When journaling is used as a verb or in the sense of keeping a journal or a diary, or database, not in the sense of being used in a library context such as with math classes, I didn't count that occurrence. So a special note about the word library. When it simply referred to the location of something, like a faculty member's office, classroom, IT, media center, or etc., I did count that occurrence, but I classified it as a non-related occurrence. I was interested to know that, but not tremendously so. Pertinent or related occurrences generally fell into 3 categories, which I did record. Noting the library, referring to it in the context of course reserves, citation help, or research specific. Obviously, that last one, research specific, was the one that I was most interested in. At first, I started looking for these words: paper, essay, and research, but it just got too unwieldy, so it was just overwhelming. So I said, well, I'm not gonna look at those words. I'm just gonna concentrate on that other list of words. Okay, so in terms of recording results and methodology, I just basically used Excel. It's very simple, relatively easy to use. It's part of the Microsoft Office set, so there's no need to purchase any additional software. Okay, so this is just kind of a screenshot. I've got a couple screenshots just to kind of show you how I did it. And this is going to be different. If you were to reproduce this or do this the same way, you certainly might want to do it a little differently. But this is kind of how it looked like in Excel. I noted the courses right here. I also had, just for privacy purposes, I redacted the faculty member's name, but I had their name also in this in the white area, like next to ANTH 13101, I had the professor's name there, so I could see which course exactly that was. And so here's one more screenshot. This is what it actually looked like, in terms of me counting the number of results that SeekFast came up with. Okay, so here are the results. Let me get into the results here. Out of 425 syllabi, it was roughly half and half. 209, or 49%, made no reference to any of the words on the list. 216 made reference to at least one of the words on the list. Okay, so that was my first filter, if you will. And of those 216 syllabi, 46, or 21%, made only a non-related reference to the library, in other words, probably location, and no reference at all to any of the other words that I searched. Okay, so that left me with 170 syllabi that either make a related reference to the library or to one or more of the other words that I searched. Okay, so I'm kind of filtering my results here as we go. Okay, so I'll just kind of let you look at this for a little bit in case you're interested. I actually thought there were no occurrences at all of the word refereed, which I was a little surprised about. I also thought literature review would get a few more mentions, would appear a few more times in course syllabi. Doesn't surprise me that library got that many hits, or journal. Okay, so of the results of those 170, and see, I keep filtering these results through, 28 or 16% had received library instruction. Okay, so I subtracted that. I filtered those out because they had already received library instruction. I was really interested in the ones that had not received library instruction yet. So of those 142 course syllabi, 53 make reference to the library in the context of course reserves. One interesting thing that I noted, a couple of English 261 classes made like 15 such, they had a lot of reserves. This information felt like could be potentially helpful for our collection development librarian, so I'm going to pass that syllabus, the syllabi, on to him so he can take a look at that, be sure that we have those items that are on reserve for that class, if that class is going to be taught again, which I believe it will be. 6, make reference to the library in the context of citation help. I may pass that on to our Academic Skills Center. Okay, so of those 142 syllabi, 35 only made a reference to the library either in the context of course reserves or citation help, and additionally they did not reference any other words I searched. So I siphoned them out, I filtered them out. And so I was left with, this is sort of the golden kernel, the golden nugget, if you will, of data, of course syllabi that either make reference to the library in the context of research activities and or reference one or more of the other words that I'd searched. And also these are courses that had not had any library instruction, so I was really, really interested in taking a closer look at these course syllabi and certainly at looking at what faculty was teaching those courses. Okay, so if we look at, and this is going to make more sense once I put the before and after, you know, the 425 course syllabi and the 107 course syllabi together when I do that in just a minute. Of the 107 remaining course syllabi, 36 were in the social sciences, 17 were in STEM, and 54 were in the humanities. So I wanted to see the breakdown of the disciplines and how it compares with the institution overall, which, like I said, we'll see in just a sec. And so with the some of the values didn't make it in 27 100 level courses, 31 200 level courses, 39 300 level courses, and 10 400 level courses. When we look at that and the conclusions and discussions side by side here, let me see if I've got that here. And actually, the percentages are really more important. In the social sciences, there were 36. I'm just going to stick with the percentages here. So when we compare the discipline breakdown side by side, you'll notice as there's a higher percentage in the social sciences within the remaining 107 syllabi. 34%, much higher actually, 34% as opposed to 19%. So this would seem to suggest that we really do need to try and reach out more to the social sciences. And so when we look at the course levels, this would seem to suggest that we're doing fairly well in terms of reaching the 100 level classes, but that we do need to reach out a little more to the 300 level courses, because as you can see, the percentages are, you know, a little higher, 36.5%, as opposed to 31.5%, you know, of the original set of 425 course syllabi. And maybe a tad more as well. We need to reach out a tad more as well to the 200 level courses. So overall, this tells me, you know, the social sciences and 200 and 300 level courses. So this really surprised me. I mean, basically, when you look at it, 107 out of 425 course syllabi, that's 25%, indicated a clear need for outreach from the instruction librarians. And this really took me by surprise because it made me realize that, you know, word of mouth can certainly be an effective tool for getting faculty into the library. This study really let me know that we do indeed need to have more work needs to be done on this front. And so when I actually looked at these 107 course syllabi and who taught these courses, I can tell you anecdotally, and I think we've all probably have been in this situation before, that a couple, not all, but some of these faculty will likely pose some interesting challenges, I'll just say, in terms of outreach. Okay, so when I actually, of course, faculty teach multiple courses. When I actually look at the breakdown of, you know, how many faculty that translates to, that's 51, and that still surprised me. So when I actually looked at these faculty, I said, you know, I know these people well enough. You know, I should be able to look at their names and just kind of know off the top of my head if they've been in the library. When I actually looked at who these faculty were, I realized that basically half of them, they were old hat. In other words, roughly half of them are already bringing at least some of their classes in. So it raised a really good question. Why are these folks not bringing their other classes in? Could it be that they feel or assume that their students in prior classes, you know, the ones that have come to the library, don't need more information literacy instruction? So that's that's a really good question that might need some answering. And so what am I going to do in terms of follow-up? I plan to, in fact, very soon, because our semester is coming to a close, I'd like to send all of our faculty a completion of study email, just kind of include some condensed results. I'll probably send that out pretty soon. And I'm going to develop, in fact, I think I've already got this together pretty well, an individual contact list, and maybe request a copy of the assignment. I'm not sure how well that's going to go over because professors are super, super busy right now. And then I think in late summer or right when fall classes start, I may send some individual contact emails out to request to schedule an information literacy session. Just say, hey, based on my syllabus study, I see that your class could possibly benefit from some library instruction. So hopefully that will go over well. So this is what I plan to do with follow-up. And I'm basically at the end here. I mean, I've got some discussion questions for us, but before we get started on that, does anyone have, I think I've gone for about 25 minutes here, so I guess that's about, a good time. Does anyone, before we get started with some discussion questions that I've got, does anyone have any specific questions or comments for me? And I'll see if I can see what some of the comments are down here in the chat. Okay, what other textual analysis software did I evaluate? Oh, that is a good question. I've got some notes here, and I don't think I've got that. I think there's going to be a transcript of this, and so any questions that I'm not prepared to answer, I will certainly find a way to follow up and get back with you on that. Really, basically, what I did, I actually just Googled. I mean, I went on Google free text analysis. I think I also used the keyword linguistics analysis software. Our educational technology person, she was a lifesaver. She first mentioned SeekFast to me. So I will try and find out what that was and see if I can find a way to get back with you folks on that. So we've got someone who says that they use NVivo for this kind of research. Oh, that is interesting. Okay. It's expensive, but it's also very flexible. Provide lots of ways to use the data. Okay.
I'll second this
Okay,
question
I'm just
from
trying
Danny.
to catch up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where he's sort of asking about when you were looking at the syllabi, you found the classes that do mention the library that the library is not working with. But did you have any way to look at the data and figure out which classes might also they don't mention the library as a place, but their assignments or whatever they're doing in class would probably be benefited by library use. So those people who are kind of missing sending the students to the library that might need to be.
Part of the 107 results would include courses where even if the word library didn't appear, if they used any one of those other words, journal, scholarly, peer-reviewed, literature review, so even if they didn't mention the library, I would have caught those in the last filter. But one of the challenges, I guess I should mention one of the challenges, was there were some syllabi that were just like 1 or 2 pages. It almost kind of looked like a sort of a canned syllabi. And then there were some that were very detailed, that had very detailed assignment descriptions. And so within those assignment descriptions, I found a lot of references. I would frequently find references to the library, especially, you will need to do library research. You will need to find 3 scholarly or peer-reviewed articles. So, yeah, that was a bit of a challenge because some of the syllabi did not include assignment descriptions. In fact, if there's one thing I would pass on to our faculty, it would be to include assignment descriptions. So, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if that completely answered the question. Yeah, and I see another comment here. Even if they don't get involved, from Denise Sturgis, even if they don't get involved with the information literacy program, you've made a contact. Yeah, and I think that's really valuable. I think if we can do something like this, it's valuable in a marketing sense, in an outreach sense. Also got another question. This is a great idea. How much time did this project take? Which part took the most time? I have to admit, I am not the most sophisticated. Like I said, I'm not a science librarian, so I don't have as much experience as I imagine a lot of you guys have with working with analysis software. So doing these filters, I keep talking about these filters in Excel. A lot of it was manual. I just had to, and I mean, there are certain ways that you can set up a cell to, whatever the value is in this cell. I mean, you can do more than just sums. So that probably took the most time, doing the filters and filtering through and making sure the results were correct. So I would say probably the part where I was going through, okay, out of 209 syllabi, 170, blah, 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 out of 170, 142 of them, actually siphoning through that, I would say that probably took the most time. From start to finish, and keep in mind I was dealing with 425 documents, and we're a small school, but actually I saw studies where the schools were larger, but they had a smaller sample size, so take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. From start to finish, I would say this took about a month of pretty intense work. I was devoting a good part of particularly about a 2-week period, I was devoting about a particularly good part of my workday to this. And it was challenging because I had so many classes to teach, and after I was done teaching a lot of the library instruction classes, then I was able to concentrate on that. But yeah, overall, I would say it took about a month or so. And it was just me. So if you've got a couple other people working on it, it might work out better. All right, I'm going to scroll up and see if there are any questions I missed. Okay, actually, I don't see a whole lot of questions here, okay? I think we've got a little bit more time. Let me move down here, and let me throw a couple of food for thought questions here. Do you have faculty who have traditionally been resistant to bringing their classes in for an instruction session? Were you or your colleagues able to overcome that? Does anyone have any, now I can't pass the mic, but maybe you could briefly, depending how fast you type, do you have any success stories that you might like to share via typing? So I'll let that sink in for a couple of minutes here.
I'll just chime in here while people are typing in their stories to share that from a science librarian perspective, I have a very hard time because our classes are so large here at my institution. Like the classes that I might want to insert myself into are very large, like general bio or general chemistry classes. And so I can't, if I want, I can get in for like maybe a one-shot to talk at them, but it's always more useful if I can have them doing something that's related to class. And what's related to class is lab. And so then there's like, it goes from like potentially talking to a large class of like 200 to suddenly I need to teach like how many different lab classes, because the lab sessions are so much smaller. So there's kind of this weird like, and the professors never want to give up lab time because they're doing important things during lab. So that's kind of what I think when I think about this question. Let's see what other people have to say.
Charlie says, get a supporter in faculty to recommend you to their colleagues. Yeah, word of mouth is always great. And I tell you, now I've only been at a small institution, but I truly believe that even if you're in a large institution, I think I think word of mouth is very helpful. I know I go to division meetings. We call I think at some institutions you may call them departments. We call our departments divisions here. Popping in at a division meeting every once in a while is good. And so I think if you get a really good rapport with maybe one or two faculty members in a particular department or division, whatever you're a liaison to, that can really work wonders. So I think that's a good idea as well. Jennifer says, at our institution, one of the biggest ins is participating in the institutional faculty training program. It teaches education skills. Okay, great. And so if you can think, well, what version of that do we have? Do we have some kind of institutional faculty training program? We have a staff workshop day at the beginning of the fall semester here. So that's something that we also have a faculty. In fact, I've planned to present these results at what we call a Faculty First Friday. It's too late in the semester to do that, but I think in the fall I'm going to present these results at our Faculty First Friday. So hopefully anyone I haven't reached at that point may be there. Okay, I'll take one or two more here. I think Danny says, let me get back to it. I think something like a syllabus analysis might help get specific examples of how library elements can help them, even if it doesn't involve a physical visit. Online classes included. Getting the syllabi, though, we probably have over 1,000 course sections offered each year. Yeah, so you might have to think about, if you're at a large institution, you might have to think about what I saw a couple of course syllabi studies that I looked at in my lit review. They focused on either just business or just math. So you may want to find a way to focus that and just narrow that. I had the luxury, I'll call it a luxury, of being able to just get everything I could get my hands on because we're such a small institution. Robert says, I found it useful to interact with faculty, less formal but still academic settings. Yeah, department seminars, absolutely. Okay, here's a good question. Diane asks, how do you respond to argument that 200 or 300 level classes already know how to research? Yeah. I guess my thing is, I would probably ask that faculty member, what class are they in? The sciences? Are they in the humanities? Even within one class, I've got a COM 100 class, Communication 100, just basic speech writing, rhetorical speeches, that sort of thing. I've got one professor who brings her class, the same class, in twice because they're doing research for an informative speech. Then they're doing research for a persuasive speech. And even within that class, the databases that they need to use are different. So I guess my thing would be I would focus on the databases and say, they may have done that they may have done some quote-unquote research for their English 101 class. But if they're taking, Poli-Sci 201, they're going to need to know about different sources and different databases. And it's just, particularly if it's a different discipline. So I guess that would be part of my argument, I guess you could say. Another thing I try to incorporate in my instruction sessions is a little bit of what I call float time at the end, where students, ideally actually get some work done. Although that's not a huge, thing that I bring up. All right, let me go. We've just got a few more minutes left. So let me move to the next question. Anybody want to share if you could tell faculty anything you wanted to about the construction, and if they would actually implement it, if you could tell faculty anything you wanted to about the construction of their course syllabi, what would it be? Oh yeah, we're getting a lot of suggestions here. Yeah, go, okay, simply getting, and I'm not sure if this is referring to the prior question or this current one, and the chat keeps moving on me. Simply getting a libguide. Okay, simply getting a libguide targeted to the class topic in the syllabus might prove hugely useful. Yeah, student learning outcomes. Oh yeah, we are required, our faculty are required to include student learning outcomes, including one for information literacy. Yeah, I know that's a big topic, integrating information literacy into the curriculum and across disciplines. I sit on our curriculum committee, and so I see a lot of, what literacy does this uh, redrafting of a course or introduction of a new course, what literacy does it support? Cultural literacy or this type of literacy? Information information and technology literacy is one of our literacies. Don't make it full of big paragraphs. Use bullet points. Yeah, very helpful. Visually, that is very helpful. Yes, that's a really good point. Jennifer makes a really good point. Working with an instructor and learning outcomes is finding information, nothing about quality. That is far more important, and the biggest message is the library can help with writing information literacy outcomes and learning steps. Yeah, me too. I agree with Martin, who says I would tell them to include summaries of all assignments. Wow, if that was the one big thing that I could get them to do. But a lot of times they're rush. I don't know about y'all's faculty, but ours are kind of rushing to get everything together, in the last week or so before classes. And so getting them to actually get the assignments in there, it can be kind of a challenge. Okay, I think I only had these two questions here. Okay, I think I'm about done. Do we have, is this 50 minutes or the full hour?
We have until 3, or yeah, 3 here.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, great. Great. Well, we actually have about 10 more. For some reason, I guess I thought it was just 50 minutes, but yeah, we've actually got a few more minutes here. So, I mean, I'll certainly continue to field questions here. Henry says, IT would also be useful to get the new ACRL framework integrated into Syllabi going forward. Yeah, that's a really good idea. Yeah, actually, I'm getting some really good ideas, especially about the library helping to write information literacy outcomes and integrating them into the syllabus. That's a good idea as well. More of a political question. Ooh, the college, Danny asks, how did you, the college, manage to get syllabi uploaded centrally? I would love to see that. Um, We have, so I guess that's something you might want to talk to your IT people about. We have something called the H drive here. We just call it the H drive. And it's an intra-campus drive. Um, each department has a drive, and then, of course, each individual person has a drive. But the whole intra-campus drive, like if there's some kind of document or something that the entire campus, particularly the faculty, needs to have access to, then it is put into, what we call our H drive. And so we have a particular folder where all of the, and I honestly don't know if individual faculty are responsible for putting this there, or if the faculty send their syllabi to the division head, and then maybe the division head upload it to the H drive. Everyone has access to the H drive. Maybe that's one of those kind of cool, nifty things that we can do because we're a small university. I don't know if that kind of thing would work at a large institution. But yeah, I mean, it's just another drive. It's an intra-campus drive that everyone here has access to. You cannot access it because of security. You can't access it from off campus or anything. Oh, getting them to actually, I think they're required. Danny says, didn't mean IT-wise, meant actually getting them to do it. I mean, I think they're required. I think that's part of, and I don't know a lot about this, but I think that's part of how we deal with or accommodate SACS accreditation and visits. I think they have to be able to look at our syllabi. So I believe that there's definitely a motivation to, you need to get your syllabus uploaded to the H drive. It's all got to be there. I'm sure there are a couple of stragglers who didn't, but I'm pretty sure that that is something that the faculty are absolutely required to do. Okay, and Denise says I've seen large institutions that required the posting of syllabi. Not just a small school thing. Okay, yeah, because I've only been at Columbia College, so I'm not sure how other larger institutions do it. Okay, so have we got any other questions or comments? I'll give it just another couple of minutes.
I will also say, second this, like that it's kind of hard sometimes to get the professors to share syllabi at our institution. I wish that there was like some central place where they were all stored. I think a lot of times there's pushback from faculty saying like that's our kind of like our intellectual property, or we can't be beholden to those syllabi because they change every year. So it can be tough to get to get them to share their syllabi sometimes, depending on the campus atmosphere or how the campus deals with that.
Yeah, and even though technically I could have just gone and gotten anybody's, only technically speaking, not ethically speaking, but I mean I had access to every single syllabi. But I mean my provost did let me know, you do need to get permission to use those syllabi, which absolutely made sense to me.
Yeah.
So even though I had access to every single syllabi I could, even want to get my hands on, I still had to request permission because those are, I believe, and I don't know if this is how it works at public institutions or private, but that's not the intellectual property of my institution. Those syllabi are as far as I know, the syllabi are the intellectual property of each individual faculty member. So that's why my provost instructed me to get permission from each individual faculty member. But like I said, that worked out, very well. So, okay, would you use another software to do this again? If there was another software, and we have to keep cost into we have to take that into consideration, that would give me a truly accurate count of how many times a word appeared, I would be very interested in using that software. But I found that it wasn't for purposes. I just wanted to know, what faculty members could benefit from a library instruction session. I found that I didn't have to, it didn't make a difference if the word scholarly was used 11 times as opposed to, 7 times. It would be nice to know, how many times the word library or librarian exactly, to know exactly how many times that word was used. But I just found that just getting a feel for that was good enough, as they say. Well, folks, I do want to say, I think I see 1 or 2 other people typing, so I mean, we're not totally out of time yet. I think I'll go ahead and take this opportunity to thank you for letting me be the presenter today. And I hope we all got something out of this. I took some notes, and I also plan to go back in the recording and in the transcript and try and pick up a few things. And I know a couple of you had some questions. I jotted down your names, so hopefully I can find a way to answer those questions and get back with you on that. But this is great. I really appreciate you all letting me speak for you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sarah, for speaking to us. We really appreciate it, and I know this is something that I'd be very interested in, trying out on my own campus. We've been doing a lot of curriculum mapping stuff and getting a way to pull data in a different way other than just talking or surveying the faculty directly. It's always useful to have these tools to analyze and try to figure out where we can target our instruction outreach. And thank you again, and I hope to see you back here sometime maybe later. We'll see if you have any updates for us. The slides and the recording, I did share the link, but they'll get posted again. The recording and the slides and the chat archive will all be posted online on our LibGuide. So thank you again, and thanks to everybody who participated.
All right, thanks a lot.